Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Good job, OP. I was also amazed at how many impossible things became possible when it was more convenient for the company. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. You must start and end your workday at the office. A few years ago, I worked for a very large city as a subject matter expert. Part of my job was delivering training to unionized employees all over the city. I was both the manager and the person who delivered the training, so I did the scheduling, picked the location, etc. Housing prices in the city were crazy, so I lived in the suburbs and commuted by transit. My commute each way to my office at our main corporate office downtown was 2 hours. It was a bus ride, then a train ride, then a subway ride, and then a walk. My workday ended at 4:30 p.m., and I would be on the 5 p.m. train, which would get me home at 6:30 p.m. Anyways, one of the more common training programs I delivered was a day and a half long and was taught to groups of around 20 people at a time, so I would schedule a full day of training followed by a morning session the next day, and then everyone would go back to their regular duties on the second afternoon. Rather than making 20 people come to me downtown, I would host the session at an office that's closer to where the participants worked. This would often add another 20 to 40 minutes to my commute via some combination of subway, streetcar, bus, and walking, so I'd simply adjust my training schedule based on the extra commute time. If it took an extra 30 minutes to get to the location, I'd start the session 30 minutes later, and I'd normally start the process of heading home to the train station 30 minutes before my official end time so I could catch my normal 5 p.m. train home. The full day session really only took maybe 6 to 6.5 hours, so my class would already be gone and I'd just be doing some paperwork until it was time to go. The arrangement seemed to work well for everyone involved and had the blessing of my direct supervisor. One day, a company-wide email went out. All management/exempt staff must start and finish their workday at an official work location, no exceptions. Failure to comply may result in termination. So instead of commuting directly to wherever the workshop was being held, I would commute to my office, log into my computer, then log out and start commuting to the workshop location. Since I was no longer taking the most direct route from home and was now traveling from the downtown office, this would eat up 1 hour plus of my time on the clock. I would then end the workshop early, commute back an hour to my office just in time to get there for 4:30 p.m., log in and out of my computer, and start my commute home. So my day and a half workshop was now a 2-day workshop, but I was still getting home on time. The people attending the workshops didn't care because they could take their time showing up in the morning, and I'd dismiss them early at the end of each day. They were union and were not office workers, so there was absolutely nothing they could do in that last hour of their day. By the time they got to a work location, set up, etc., the day'd be over. This cost the company thousands in lost time and productivity as the 20 employees attending the workshop were no longer performing any of their regular work for the afternoon of the second day as they did during my original schedule. Often additional staff had to be brought in on overtime to cover the workload. This continued until COVID hit. After that, I was able to deliver the workshops over Zoom from the comfort of my own home and save the entire commute, which prior to COVID I was told was not an option. And our next story. Got Condo Karen to quit the board. Back in January 2019, I made the decision to purchase a condo in rural New Hampshire. 8 units, all one-level living, and semi-detached. I thought, what could go wrong? They barely have any rules in their CC&Rs. Well, days before closing, I was told I needed to pay 3 times the monthly fee to buy. That wasn't in the condo docs, and I fought it tooth and nail, but ultimately the attorney wouldn't close, $675 down the drain. 1 week after closing, I find out they're drafting new declaration and bylaws. They spent $13K on legal fees of about $17K total cash in the accounts. Within a year, we ran out of money and had to start mowing the lawns ourselves, all 7 acres. Condo fees went up from $175 when I made my offer to $225 before I closed to $250 a month after to $380 a year later. 8 months after closing, we got a special assessment for $4,200 each. I joined the board prior to the last increase to help bring us to financial solvency and to create a pro forma for long-term repairs and expenses. The 2 other board members were Diane and Beverly. One day, the water system failed and flooded the system with salt from the softener backwash. Diane and I sprung into action and called Bev. No answer. We texted. No answer. Email. No answer. Bev, president, and an equal member of a 3-member board of directors, was unavailable for 45 minutes, during which we didn't have potable water for over 25 residents. I have a degree in chemical engineering, for context, so Diane and I voted to move forward with repairs with our service contract plumber. In our area, they're essentially the only option. Beverly lost her damn mind. She emailed the entire association saying she quits, her authority was undermined, and that Diane was pushing her out, etc. We were all ungrateful and she would be filing legal action. For what? Your guess is as good as mine. Diane was the treasurer and I was the secretary, so Bev regarded me as a lowly and unintentional accomplice to Diane's treachery. In reality, I'm an accomplished engineer and don't sit around for 75-year-old banking retirees to decide how we should repair our water systems. I had a 2/3 vote without her, and I made the call jointly with Diane. Over the next months, Beverly began harassing Diane. She would undercut her over email, accuse her of mismanagement, theft, lack of record keeping, tax evasion. The list went on. Repeatedly, when I was out in my garden, she would approach me and ask for help in tearing down Diane. I turned her down time and time again, and repeatedly indicated I'd prefer not to discuss HOA matters every time I stepped out of my door. A new younger board member joined, Amy. Amy was cool as a cucumber, worked in accounts management, and put all our supplier files and contracts in order. Amy was awesome and exactly what we needed. Beverly didn't like Amy, so she started a crusade, accusing us of losing funds, not budgeting, blah, 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 blah. She began a daily swarm of group texts and emails to the entire community. Emails would fly with heated words between Bev and Diane 20 to 30 times a day, and email inboxes were filled daily with new document requests from Beverly. I wish this was one of those malicious compliance stories where we supplied each and every one with a mocking smile. But no, she demanded documents we weren't even required to maintain, demanded we walk her through every detail, and continually harassed us for weeks. It got so bad that one of the owners, who's an ICU nurse and usually a calm, reserved, nervous person, blew up. She, rightfully, demanded they all stop texting immediately. She kept her phone on during work in case her children had an emergency, not so HOA Karens could have it out and spam her with notifications. Text stopped, but emails continued, and Beverly took her warfare to the streets, harassing Diane, Amy, and me anytime she saw us outside. My term ended and Diane quit the board. Amy decided to sell her unit. Beverly assumed supporters and took over the board with her friend Nice Bev. We elected the nurse as secretary and begged her to help keep things civil. B-word Bev only ever allowed Nice Bev to participate in board meetings, and as a housewife all her life who never managed home finances, Nice Bev was in over her head and did whatever B-word Bev directed her to. Nurse didn't get a vote. B-word Bev began making her own rules, including mandating we sign legal documents and list the HOA as additionally insured on our own personal walls in-condo insurance policies. She was conflating our insurance requirement with the rule that contractors for the HOA must list the HOA as additionally insured during the project while they work on site. I explained, my insurance company explained, and Bev persisted, threatening to fine me up to $1,000. She also threatened legal action. While she was incorrect that she could demand to be listed on my insurance, she was correct that if we went to court, win or lose, I would be required to pay her legal fees. I was terrified because she was out for blood, and I was trying to buy a new house. A lien on my property would make it difficult to sell, and pending litigation would make it impossible to secure a new mortgage. As a 27-year-old female, I felt powerless and stressed. I had to start therapy. I couldn't sleep at night. My mom kept telling me some people just have nothing better to do. It wasn't reassuring. Next, Beverly demanded we sign an additional hold harmless for the board, prohibiting any legal action against the HOA or its board. I wouldn't sign. She continued to harass me in person and over email. Nice Bev moved and her position opened. The next board meeting rolled around and I broke down. I sent a long letter asking people to please attend and to consider removing Bev from the board. I listed my reasons, 7 of them. Bev assessed me a fee of $250 and a late fee of $50 a day if I didn't pay. Not in writing, just verbally. I'd never received a bill. The meeting was tense, and I didn't get support when I asked to remove her, even from the 2 members who asked me to speak up. I was pretty near tears from the stress. Bev gave a speech from her little podium. Nurse was relegated to the crowd with the rest of the members about how much harassment she's put up with from me and Diane. She broke down crying, saying she was the only one who had ever done anything for the association. I was hurt more. I had personally push-mowed acres of the property while we couldn't afford landscaping. I had balanced the budget, done maintenance, and converted us to digital records, literal blood, sweat, and tears. She continued on, and then, miraculously, she quit. I was so relieved that I wasn't even bothered when her friend went on a tirade about how horrid I was to send such a mean-spirited email. The sick feeling diminished a lot when Nurse spoke up. She essentially let us know that Bev was a tyrant and belittled and insulted her at every opportunity. A few more people spoke to defend me, saying clearly there was an issue that Bev wasn't willing to resolve civilly. Nurse let me know at the end of the meeting that Bev had retained a lawyer to file against me for unpaid fees and harassment. There were never any notices sent of fees assessed. Clearly, she'd lost her damned mind. The meeting ended in disarray, with Bev tossing binders of paper at the new neighbor who volunteered to help. Bev had gone back to a paper system, so nothing was in Excel or online anymore or easy to transfer. 2 weeks ago, I learned that Bev calls the new neighbor, young mom, pregnant with her second, daily, harassing her and telling her that she'll get sued if she doesn't collect hold harmlesses and get the HOA on everyone's insurance. Nurse politely asked me to document the harassment I'd been victim to. I'm obliging gladly. Tomorrow I close on my new house, and finally the nightmare is over. F HOAs. There's no such thing as a chill or low-key HOA. If you're lucky, you'll get HOA Karen. And if you're unlucky, you might get an HOA Bev. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.